My younger brother and I would then proceed to go and milk. From milking, I would wash my face, hands and legs, drying myself with the same piece of cloth I used for washing, then have breakfast before running to school. I normally go to school a few minutes before the bell rang. We would stand for assembly outside according to class, saying the morning prayer and get instructions from the headmaster. In the early classes, all the teachers seemed to be women, and married or single. I remember that we used to refer to them all as mistress. Odd word that. After class, we would clean the classrooms and go and fetch water for the teachers or send on water for building other classrooms. It was here that all the single male teachers took advantage of the older girls, asking them to go and cook for them and generally commencing physical relationships. Because my father worked in town, we were lucky that there was a young man who assisted us with farming and rearing of goats and cattle. He was a funny guy, but I forget his name. When it was planting season, I would be expected to relieve him of his duty with cattle and goats so he could go back to the fields. I remember now. Congress was his name. Imagine, if you will, a 7-year-old child responsible for 18 goats and 12 cattle. It was not too bad, as I would be with other young boys, of course, and it would work rather well where the sun was shining, but when it rained, it was horrible. Don't let anyone tell you differently or romanticize about it. Trying to take goats to the pen when it's raining is a painful process and results in tears. I remember it well. This probably would have been my life until my father deemed it necessary for me to further my education or look for work, but it was not to be. When I was 8, my mother woke up one morning complaining of a headache. I went to school as usual, but before school was finished, one of my father's brothers who stayed in our village had come to fetch me. My mother had died. My father came for the funeral, and during it, much talk was passed by relatives about my mother having been bewitched by my father's sound woman. I remember well the talk. From one aunt. It is said that woman is from a faraway in Tabanchu. They see people from there are very good with witchcraft. But you know, she started it. They say that when she heard that woman was with her husband, she went and shot some bulls and spares so that her co-wife would not have any children. All her children had died. Then seeing me, they started harming. After all, they were church women. After the funeral, my father packed my brother, my sister, and our meager belongings with him, and we made our way to Joburg. Our Bamane, the last born in my father's family, would stay at our household with his wife and family. Busumuzi, Maria, and I would never stay in Kwamchungu again. Our life was about to begin with a father we barely knew and the woman who had allegedly killed my mother. I was scared of what I would find. Then there's Tinaya, which is the other character, and he's a Zimbabwean guy who's in Joburg. I'm sorry, my bro. I hear that you were to get a salary review when you signed the contract with us. Now, your work has been exceptional, but the organization is not in a position to give you a raise right now. Our budget just does not allow it. The Secretary General, AFRI-Aid, James Tolwayo, said to me, giving me the same response I had received from his predecessor, Livingston Stanley. I was Poverty Program Director for the SADC region, the only person in the organization who had on my roller desk several powerful SADC ministers, influential MPs, knew on first name basis the leaders of the regional national organizations we work with, and yet again, I was being told I could not get a raise. I wanted to curse, but could not. This was not working for me. I had done everything right that those go-getter male magazines said one needed to do before asking for a raise. We set up a meeting for a salary review, highlighting the major things I wanted to way in advance. I made sure the email requesting a meeting and the meeting were both on Friday, when bosses are supposed to be more relaxed and therefore feeling more generous according to South African GQ. And yet, here I was, being told that the organization had no money to give me a raise. Me, with my vast knowledge of international relations. And yet, the Secretary General's monthly salary was large enough to fund a few wars in the region. I'd had enough. perhaps I could transfer my work permit and go find work elsewhere. There were many organizations willing to pay someone with my expertise a better salary. A friend had told me of a job that he could hook me up with in the corporate sector right up my alley, director of diversity or something. Had to do with political correctness in the corporate world, relaxed hours and a lax salary with incentives. I tried. Perhaps you'd allow me to transfer my work permit and look for a job elsewhere? I said tentatively. Tomaya looked at me intently, his blue eyes seemingly staring straight into my soul. Yes, I said blue eyes. For some strange reason, ever since he married an Afrikaner woman a few months ago, he had started wearing blue contact lenses. He had also started ranting against the system and how the whites exploited our people, which was rather rich coming from him if one knew his history. Tomoyo, you see, was one of those black South Africans with a wonderful ability for reinvention. A former special branchman, according to the human resources manager and my colleague Maki, when the winds of change were beginning to blow towards South Africa, way after Harold Macmillan's speech, but before Mandela became president, Tomoyo aligned himself well. He started feeding bits of information about his colleagues in the special branch of the UDF, making himself appear as though he had had a soul-like conversion. The leadership of the UDF accepted him as an informer for the other side, but there were those who still looked at Tomoyo with suspicion. It is said until now, there are certain neighborhoods you cannot walk in Soweto without being spat on for having partaken in the death and disappearances of many locals. Tomoyo eventually got fired from the special branch, became a bag carrier at the Congress for a Democratic South Africa, advising the African National Congress here and there, and was later awarded with a position of power post-ANC victory in 1994. Alas, being in the civil service, the position did not have much money, but when international aid organizations decided post-apartheid South Africa was the new spot to do business and needed a South African head, Tomoyo suddenly realized that he wanted to really make a difference to his people, and he became the man, taking over from the British, Livingstone standing. He talked a good game, did Tomoyo, but I was proving a wee bit too clever, so when I suggested I transfer my work permit elsewhere, his skin turned ashy, and then in the same minute, really red before he said in a full voice of disappointment, after all the resources we put forward so you could come and work here, you want us to transfer your work permit so you can work elsewhere? He paused meaningfully before continuing. Are you aware, young men, just how many young men in this very country are looking for jobs? Do you have any idea how many of your fellow Zimbabweans are sleeping in the Central Methodist Church with degrees because they have no work permits? Why do South Africans always do this when someone complains of unfair labor conditions in their country? I really didn't care how many of my fellow Zimbabweans were sleeping at the Methodist Church or wherever, and I would have told them, but I could not afford to be disrespectful when I was the one who wanted a favor from me. So I shook my head. No, Comrade James.